Welcome, everyone, to Channel Weird. I'm Clyde Lewis. And, I am trying to find a way to escape the world after bad traffic today and just dealing with all kinds of morons. I just get to a point sometimes where I'm thinking either I have to escape with drugs and I don't drink, or I have to escape somehow. And there aren't many ways to do so unless I decide to get a rocket from Elon Musk and fly out of this place. But with the war going on and everything else that's happening in the world, it makes you wonder just where we're going to go from here and what the future holds and what we do to escape. And I know that we have plenty of ideas here that have been presented to us, whether it be the Metaverse or going out and, living on Mars or whatever. But there's another idea that certainly is unheard of unless you talk with my guest today, Marshall Barnes, who is a theoretical physicist. We've talked many times on my radio show Ground Zero about that and quantum mechanics and everything that goes into the idea of traveling into the past. And so we welcome to the show Marshall Barnes. Welcome to Channel Weird, Marshall.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
It's great to have you. Okay, so what I understand is that you sent an open letter to Marshall Barnes. Oh, no, sorry, not Marshall Barnes, Elon Musk. Need more coffee today, Marshall. Sorry. Elon Musk. And you said to him that there's an alternative to off-planet and all this. And what would that be?
Well, first of all, I didn't send it to him. It's an open letter.
Okay.
I set it up so if enough people found out about it, he would certainly hear about it and could check it out himself. That way, I know he's going to see it as opposed to trying to send it to him because, of course, that if you try to send emails to, famous people, they're so, bogged down with so much other stuff, they'll never see it.
Right.
So this is a good way to set it up so that he would be able to be aware of it. And my whole argument was this: look, we're both afraid of the same thing. We're afraid of World War III. We're afraid of another plague. I mean, COVID-19 was like, wow. I don't want to go through anything even close to that again. We're afraid of like AI taking over. I mean, these are all things that he's talked about. And I said, look, all the things that you're working on, SpaceX and, Hyperloop and all this other kind of stuff, they don't do anything to solve the problems that are created by the things that you're afraid of. This doesn't do you any good. Based on the time scales that he was talking about doing, like going to Mars or whatever, you're not going to get there in time to escape what other experts are saying is coming our way. Like there's a greater potential for World War III. Elon Musk himself said he thinks AI is going to take over in 5 years. He's not going to we're not going to do anything significant with Mars until like later on, like 2033, I think is what the last time period he was talking about. So what good does it do? It's not going to help. But there is a plan that I have that will help because it's already underway, and that is time travel to the past. Significant at a significant time period, for example, where hardly anybody would be around. There would be people, but it's not like going back to, like, say, 1800s or something. We're talking about like 12,000 years ago in the past, and restarting our civilization there. We would be like, number one, we would be able to take over the entire planet with our technology. We could put up satellites and all kind of stuff to monitor what's going on. We could start over again without pollution and all that. And on top of that, if it is successful, in the very beginnings, if it's successful, we have plans on how to make money off of it, like trillions of dollars, by doing mining and exporting resources and whatnot from there to this time period and to other time periods. Because, as I pointed out in my open letter to him, what good is time travel technology? And if all you're going to do is go to one particular time period. If you have time travel technology, what you want to be able to do is, let's say, for example, we find out all the different time periods in history where gold or whatever resources we're talking about were at its height in terms of the price you could get on it. And then you set up markets there and you go and you sell that stuff there. So we're not talking about just selling it here in the 21st century. We're talking about selling it in all kinds of different time periods and making trillions and trillions of dollars. And it's all based on whether or not we can complete the experimentation that we've already begun now in terms of making this thing happen. We already did all the research in terms of the conceptualization, like what would be involved in trying to do something like this. We're already done, got it finished. Now we have to work on the experimentation with like what technological approach do we use. But once we make that happen, that's it. Time travel, it's done. Touchdown, Miller time. We start making tons of money. And we're looking at possibility of doing that this year or early part of next year. So this is not something that when you talk about SpaceX or whatever, that's like a number of years still down the road. This is right around the corner because I started working on this project a number of years ago because I saw the writing on the wall and I said, you know what? This place is going to hell in a handbasket and I don't want to be around for it.
Doesn't it seem, and I've theorized before, that it just seems that lately we've been hearing about, I guess you could call them electric waves, huge waves that are passing over the planet, gravitic waves that are passing over the planet. It gives me reason to speculate that perhaps something is wrong with timelines, that we're seeing we're seeing what would be a mirror image or a mirror of what the Earth would be in a chaotic situation, like the upside down you hear about in Stranger Things. And it's like it just seems to reason that perhaps in an overlapping time frame, we could find that overlap and go back in time and try to correct things and get back into another time dimension. What are your thoughts on that?
You know me, Clyde.
Yeah.
I deal hard and nuts and bolts science stuff. I have no idea what the hell you're talking about.
Okay. You talk about let's talk about the theory of everything for a minute. The quantum mechanics of the idea that we are at the moment. It's like the rolling bubbles of water, and every one of them overlap. And so we have these dimensional overlaps that either can throw us off track or put us well on the way to a very healthy and enterprising world. But instead, for some reason, we took a detour in the timeline. And so your mission is to go back and try to correct those problems. Am I right?
No.
Okay.
Let me explain. Okay. Let me explain how it really works. All right. First of all, I'm not trying to go back and correct anything. What I'm trying to do is go to a different time period in the past, but it's not the linear past. All right. We're talking about, because we've already done this with experiments. Anytime you do anything like what's called in quantum mechanics retrocausality, anytime you do anything that's going to affect the past, even if it's just the prior pathway of a particle, what I've been able to show is that you create a new parallel universe copy of what happened.
Right.
All right. That's what really happens. And what ends up being the case is that there's a version of you in that one, and there's a version of you that went on, where it didn't take place. But this was predicted by a German astrophysicist by the name of Rainer Plage back in 1995. And then he got his idea published in the Foundations of Physics journal in 1997. And he predicted that we would see these effects that would show up without cause because of something that you were doing with the experiment that he described as a setup. And that's exactly the same thing I've got in my research, where we'll get laser hits, and then we'll have a setup, and we're doing these different things with mirrors and laser pulses. And what will happen is we will get a laser hit that shows up when we weren't even firing the laser. In between pulses, we'll get a hit, and it's not reflected off of anything. It just gets the hit. It doesn't appear out of nowhere and then hits the detection area. It just shows up at the detection area. And so that is exactly the kind of thing that Plage was talking about. So that is what would happen if we do time travel. What we do is we create a new parallel universe copy of the past that we're trying to get to. There is no travel in between anywhere.
Okay, but what if, so you're saying to me, though, that you could be, are you talking about superposition when you're saying that you'd be here and then you'd be there at the same time, or are you just going to completely disappear and go away?
All right, superposition is what happens actually prior to the time you do the experiment. In fact, I set that up to deliberately test the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. I set up a device that was similar to one suggested by Yakir Haranov, who won like the 2009 American Science Award. And it created a superpositional cloud of uncertainty where if I fired a laser through this device, the anomalous hit could show up anywhere of like 5 positions. Okay. And what we decided was if we can get an anomalous hit to show up in, say, not the same position every time it shows up, that means we're getting results where in those positions where it doesn't show up, those are in parallel worlds. And that's exactly what happened. We didn't get position 5 as an anomalous hit every time. We got like 5, then maybe 3, then maybe 1, then maybe 2. That's exactly what was taking place. So out of that, what you're dealing with is you're talking about superposition. Then you go back to the whole thing of like all the continuous possible probabilities of what would happen then. So if you do this experiment, like I was talking about, where you get a hit that you see that had no cause, but then in another place you don't see that. That is one way of looking at it as a superposition. But you're not in the superposition anymore that you can observe. That's just the assumption that would happen. What we're wanting to look at is creating results where you get that hit without cause, so to speak, or the anomalous result, which would be, if you're trying to do time travel, you would actually be in a different time period. You would. All right. So, and that's one of the things we're working on, separating out. We want to be able to send something to that quote unquote anomalous result area. Okay. And that's when, hey, you've disappeared. Or if it would be you would have disappeared as opposed to like the object or whatever you're sending. So that's how that would happen. But what I want to get away from, and what I want to stress, because I keep seeing people asking me these questions on Quora.com. They get confused about what a freaking timeline is, and they interject these science fiction references, which those writers in Hollywood don't give a damn about being accurate. Okay. I mean,
they always talk about they always do the grandfather scenario
which is ridiculous.
Yeah. And I think people don't understand that there are several timeline potentials that can be created, right?
It depends. You have to complete the equation. What do you mean by several timeline potentials? What are you talking about?
Well, okay, if you do one thing, it sends a branch out, or if you go back in time, it won't necessarily be the linear timeline that we're in right now. It would be another one completely. Am I correct?
Right, because that is the idea of going back in time on a linear timeline is impossible. It's not even part of the conversation. As soon as you introduce that concept, then you're off the rails. So, you're not even talking science anymore. And I can show that. And we've known about it through other experiments anyway. But that idea that you could go back in time on a linear timeline violates the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics. And that's the very basic, the one that almost everybody can agree with, interpretation. Where you get the differentiation from is when you start talking about the parallel universes one. Some people just don't like that idea, even though now we have the physical proof that that's the way everything works. But I mean, but anytime someone talks about, let me put it this way, and I think everyone should pay attention to this, because this way you won't look stupid at parties.
I tell you what. Why don't we hold there? We got a break coming up,
sure.
And we'll talk more with Marshall Barnes. Very intriguing stories about time travel and about quantum mechanics. It's fascinating stuff with Marshall Barnes right here on Channel Weird. Don't go away. On the phone with me is Ronnie from getthetea.com. Hey, Ronnie, it is the tea that makes you go, I know this because I use it. My favorite is pomegranate. What kind of flavors are there to choose from with this wonderful tea?
You can do pomegranate. You can do just the straight, which is real good. And also we have a mint, a peppermint. People really love that one too. And we have a couple new flavors on the way, which I will not discuss yet, but they're coming.
You know, a lot of people don't know that peppermint is a very, very good supplement to keep the stomach happy. It relaxes the intestines, and once again, it makes you feel better because it allows them to move around and get that stuff out of you, that bad stuff out of you.
Absolutely. This is a digest mover. So people have a hard time digesting stuff, or you get something stuck, or maybe you're a real heavy meat eater. The tea is wonderful. That's why it's taglined, the tea that makes you go.
If I want my life to change and get the tea, where do I go to get it?
GetThetea.com. That's GetThetea.com.
Fantastic. It's all over the news, food shortages and scarcity in the supply chain. And the reality is nobody truly knows what might happen in the near future. Hi, I'm Clyde Lewis, and I want to let you know that it's a good idea to plan ahead so you aren't caught off guard. Nothing's more important than having enough food to eat, and we're here to help. We highly recommend My Patriot Supply, America's leading emergency preparedness company. They provide long-term emergency food that lasts up to 25 years in storage. When grocery stores run empty or disasters strike, their foods will be there when you need them most. Act now and secure at least a 4-week emergency food kit full of tasty meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. They have dozens of emergency food storage kits to choose from, along with a variety of other survival products. If the government tells you not to go out, you can have the peace of mind that comes from being prepared. After you order from My Patriot Supply, your food will arrive discreetly at your doorstep. Prepare today, because time is short. Go to preparewithgroundzero.com. That's preparewithgroundzero.com.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero. You know, with the rise of the cancel culture and an increase in social media censorship, we need to make a big change. So we decided to create a very unique digital platform. It's called Aftermath.media. It's an exclusive online multimedia library featuring an interactive social media section with a chat room, videos, audio clips, archived Ground Zero podcasts, documents, books, and magazines. Our news aggregator provides current news relating to many of the topics we cover. We're expanding our research and study groups as well, which presently includes Tracy Twyman, William Cooper, Mae Brussel, and Jim Keith. Also, check out popular podcast Conspirafact with Wes and Bill. Updated apps will be available soon. The monthly subscription for Aftermath is only $10 a month, and if you sign up now for the yearly subscription, it's only $79. You want to hear the shows you love and support Great Talk Radio. Go to Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media. We're back with Marshall Barnes. Let's talk about time travel, talking about how to revamp the civilization. I guess I don't want to use the phrase build back better, but I mean, maybe that's applicable if you're going to go back in time and do so. Trying to unravel the secrets of time travel and how a lot of what we're taught in science fiction may not be correct. It's just, it's some simplistic forms that, of course, there are a lot of complications and a lot of things that are very complex when we're dealing with this subject. You know, we were talking earlier about the grandfather paradox. It's kind of I guess to explain it is to kill baby Hitler and come back and hopefully we'd have a better civilization. But that's not what you're doing. We're working on something else here. In fact, a lot of your theories or a lot of your ideas have been utilized, I think, in the Avengers. They used a lot of your, theories and realities about time. Is that true?
Well, they weren't so much mine. They were as much as they were like the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. And that was based loosely on that, which I'm a promoter of it. I mean, I'm one of the ones that proved it was actually real. The Avengers get it a little off. I don't know why these science fiction writers can't just crack open a science book and just follow the directions, the way they're there. But let me go back to the grandfather paradox thing. People think the grandfather paradox is an argument against time travel, and they don't understand it just makes them look stupid. And this is how it makes them look stupid. They go, oh, you can't go back in time because if you went back in time, you could kill your grandfather. First of all, and then create a paradox. First of all, the number one paradox they skid right past, and that is, how is it that you were able to go back in time anyway? You weren't there the first time around. So as a result, that's the paradox you have to solve first, because otherwise you don't have anything. And you also simultaneously violate the Copenhagen interpretation of quantum mechanics. So right there, they're screwed. They're just showing that they don't know anything about the science at all. Their solution is that when you do something that wouldn't result in time travel, you're not going back along the same timeline. You are creating instantaneously a new parallel universe copy of that particular time. And it is not causally linked up to where you are. So there is no going back and changing something there and then returning from where you came and everything's different. That Heinlein, I think it was Heinlein, or I can't remember who it was, did a thing about, they go back in time, hunting the dinosaurs, and they step on a butterfly, and it totally changes everything in the future. That doesn't happen.
It was Ray Bradbury that wrote that.
Ray Bradbury. Heinlein did another one. Heinlein did the zombie ones, and that was also equally as nonsensical. But it won't happen that way. There's no way that you can show a justification for that. And we've already, through experimentation, we now know it's impossible. So, all that stuff goes out the window. Too many times, science fiction writers try to use logic based on their ignorance of the science to then postulate how time travel would work. But they don't know the rules. They're completely ignorant of the work that's been done and is continuing to happen that actually lay out the track about this is how things would work and this is why they would work that way. They completely skip over that. And then and unfortunately, they fool a lot of people. Our science, in terms of science fiction and time travel, we are nowhere near where we were when, for example, science fiction was talking about space travel, and then they eventually start to get it right. We're not doing that with time travel. We're still at the stage of the equivalent of, say, making a space movie about going to Mars, and everybody gets out in their swimwear and plays, bikini beach ball in the desert. That's the same equivalency of where we are. So yeah,
Christopher Hoops just sent us a message here. He would like to know what you thought of the Loki, if you watched Loki and the Sacred Time and all that. Tell me about it.
I'll tell you about it. What I'm doing is I'm working on doing time travel for real because I know the world's going down the toilet and I don't want to be here. I don't have time for Loki and all science fiction stuff. We're actually, having to deal with the financial setbacks we got because of the COVID crisis and bouncing back from that so we can still stay on track for getting the heck out of here, hopefully by sometime next year, and having that two-way time travel capability. I think this year, before the end of the year, we'll have one-way time travel figured out and be able to do it, hopefully, because then at least we'll know that we can get out of here if World War III comes along or something, But I was talking about this kind of stuff a number of years ago, and I was heavily involved, as you know, in the whole space thing, and I finally saw the writing on the wall and said, I've got to start switching over to time travel, getting serious about it, because space is so expensive, and time travel is dirt cheap compared to space. It just is. So as a result, I don't have time for science fiction anymore.
What about the idea? We got multiverse, and then we have metaverse. And this is another escape that certainly has been brought up by Zuckerberg and others. What are your thoughts on the metaverse?
Well, if Zuckerberg brought it up, then automatically I don't think much of it. And it's not. like, okay, let me ask you a question. What exactly is the metaverse? That's what I hear they're calling Facebook that now. What is it?
Well, it's basically, I think, virtual reality for the sake of escape. It's what Rudolf Steiner called the eighth sphere, and it's
Mhm.
certainly. And I think Steiner, when he was speaking of it back in the early 1900s, he was saying that it would be a world within a world created by mankind, where
Mhm.
it would be a counterfeit existence. It would be an existence where you're existing, but you're not tangible. You're not. Flesh and bone anymore. You're something completely different.
I get it. Okay,
And
so here's my answer. Because I already dealt with this concept back in 2016 or 2017 when
right,
I was dealing with that whole "Are we in a simulation?" issue, and
yes,
I was like pointing out, hey, yeah, go ahead and live in your little virtual reality thing, and then something comes along and cuts the power, where everything blows up, and there you go. It's not real. And I'm trying to deal with the real world and real physical life within it. And how do you continue that? How do you sustain that in the face of all these real threats that are coming? World War III is not going to be virtual. An asteroid hit that destroys part of the Earth is not going to be virtual. I mean, how can I put it? Look, I've grown up. I'm not a kid anymore. I quit. I don't have time to play video games. I used to do it all the time, even just to relax. I don't have time for that. All right. I woke up like earlier this past, or was it this week even? Lost track. Putin's invaded Hungary. A lot of people didn't think he was going to do it. What am I going to do next week? Wake up when World War III started? I mean, it's like David Byrne said. This ain't no party. This ain't no disco. This ain't no fooling around. I'm getting serious, and I'm doing things for a serious result because my life is on the line. The gun's to my head, so to speak. All
right.
right. Once you realize that and you take that seriously, you don't have time for all this other stuff. And that was my argument with it's not really an argument. This is why I pointed out to Elon Musk, because the stuff that he talks about, he's afraid of that. But everything he's putting his money in doesn't address the solutions to those threats. So it's like this: either you want to get serious or you don't. Either you want to live or you don't care. I want to live.
How many people, though, if you leave, go back in another time, what about your work? Are you going to leave behind the secret so everybody can have that opportunity, or are you just going to? I know you want to recruit people to go with you back in time. I guess you could call them chrononauts if you want to call them anything. They want to go back in time with you. I mean, what happens after the success?
Well, what happens is basically unfortunately, I have to control the solutions to these particular technological problems because they can easily be weaponized. To give you a kind of a clue, the solutions that I found to time travel that would make sense, they all come from or have been looked at in various forms by military intelligence agencies around the world. Not completely around the world, but in more than one foreign country. It wasn't just the U.S. and Soviet Union, some other people. So I don't want to get into details about how you actually do this, because then you figure out, oh wow, then we could also do something else with this, like make a bomb appear any way we want, or et cetera, et cetera. So we have basically, a kind of a closed cabal, so to speak. I mean, we have control of the information of how we're going to do this. When we do it, we then will have ways in which we can exploit the information for fun and profit, and other people can benefit from that. But we're just not going to stick it out there. I mean, China, they leaked out something. You might have probably heard about it. They said that they were working on a time machine, and then they said they weren't. I know the Chinese follow what I do, so that's another reason why I don't spill my guts about everything, because I have foreign countries that follow my work. The Chinese are one of them, and so it's a situation where Hong Kong, this college from Hong Kong, put out a thing about they figured out that time travel was impossible because a photon won't ever go faster than the speed of light. But the problem is the speed of light has nothing to do with time travel to the past. That's just a mathematical anomaly. I mean, anybody who really understands that Einsteinian stuff knows that you're not really dealing with literally going to the past. And it's the solution to time travel issues is in quantum mechanics, not relativity. Neil Turok from the Permanent Institute of Theoretical Physics in Canada came out and said that in 2018. He didn't know what the answers would be, but he said, someone's going to come along and point this out. Ta-da, here I am. But, and the solutions in quantum mechanics has nothing to do with relativity. And even Einstein didn't like the idea of time travel to the past. When Kurt Gödel discovered closed summit curves appearing in general relativity solutions with a rotating universe, Einstein was very upset.
We're gonna, I'm gonna follow up on that about Einstein. What he thinks of this. We're gonna take a break with Marshall Barnes right here on Channel Weird. We'll be back.
It's all over the news, food shortages and scarcity in the supply chain. And the reality is nobody truly knows what might happen in the near future. Hi, I'm Clyde Lewis, and I want to let you know that it's a good idea to plan ahead so you aren't caught off guard. Nothing's more important than having enough food to eat, and we're here to help. We highly recommend My Patriot Supply, America's leading emergency preparedness company. They provide long-term emergency food that lasts up to 25 years in storage. When grocery stores run empty or disasters strike, their foods will be there when you need them most. Act now and secure at least a 4-week emergency food kit full of tasty meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. They have dozens of emergency food storage kits to choose from, along with a variety of other survival products. If the government tells you not to go out, you can have the peace of mind that comes from being prepared. After you order from My Patriot Supply, your food will arrive discreetly at your doorstep. Prepare today, because time is short. Go to preparewithgroundzero.com. That's preparewithgroundzero.com.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero. You know, with the rise of the cancel culture and an increase in social media censorship, we needed to make a big change. So we decided to create a very unique digital platform. It's called Aftermath.media. It's an exclusive online multimedia library featuring an interactive social media section with a chat room, videos, audio clips, archived Ground Zero podcasts, documents, books, and magazines. Our news aggregator provides current news relating to many of the topics we cover. We're expanding our research and study groups as well, which presently includes Tracy Twyman, William Cooper, Mae Brussel, and Jim Keith. Also, check out popular podcast Conspirafact with Wes and Bill. Updated apps will be available soon. The monthly subscription for Aftermath is only $10 a month, and if you sign up now for the yearly subscription, it's only $79. If you want to hear the shows you love and support Great Talk Radio, go to Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
On the phone with me is Ronnie from GetTheTea.com. Hey, Ronnie, it is the tea that makes you go, I know this because I use it. My favorite is pomegranate. What kind of flavors are there to choose from with this wonderful tea?
You can do pomegranate. You can do just the straight, which is real good. And also we have a mint, a peppermint. People really love that one too. And we have a couple new flavors on the way, which I will not discuss yet, but they're coming.
A lot of people don't know that peppermint is a very, very good supplement to keep the stomach happy. It relaxes the intestines, and once again, it makes you feel better because it allows them to move around and get that stuff out of you, that bad stuff out of you.
Absolutely. This is a digest mover. So people have a hard time digesting stuff, or you get something stuck, or maybe you're a real heavy meat eater. The tea is wonderful. That's why it's tagline, the tea that makes you go.
If I want my life to change and get the tea, where do I go to get it?
GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea, TEA.com.
Fantastic.
Marshall Barnes is with us today on Channel Weird. He is definitely got some great ideas about trying to restart civilization, and that is to time travel, go back in time, and we're discussing this. Now, you were talking about Einstein before we took the break, and you said he was upset about, going back in time. All I remember is like spooky actions at a distance with quantum mechanics and quantum entanglements. Can you go further on this whole this what you were talking about with Einstein?
Well, basically, Kurt Gödel was this mathematician friend of his, and he found what physicists like to call time travel solutions, vis-a-vis closed time-like curves, in equations from general relativity, where you had the universe rotating. And he says, "Oh, look, I got closed time-like curves in this model of the universe." And Einstein did not like that idea because Einstein didn't really like the idea of time travel to the past, even though people invoke his name all the time when they want to talk about it, and they just use it as a kind of like something to hide behind. Einstein didn't like this, and he was very relieved when they found out that, well, the universe is not rotating. And so that ruled out that solution for time travel to the past that Kurt Gödel came up with. And this is not some secret. You can look it up. I mean, this is well known for people in the scientific community. What is still invoked, however, is the fact that you can find closed time-like curves and other solutions from general relativity. But the problem is, a closed time-like curve is not really time travel, and there's other physicists that agree with that. I mean, it's like calling a waterfall a washing machine. I'll just take my laundry and toss off the waterfall, and it'll get the spin at the bottom. It's not a washing machine. And a closed time-like curve has a lot of inherent problems with it, including when the loop is completed, all the stuff that was in the original curve goes away, and all that happens next is a replication, a copy of what was there, but the original is gone. So, I mean, it's not a solution at all. It's like Groundhog Day, except that you're not conscious when you repeat the day again. It's just like going through the emotions. So closed time-like curves, and also the model for what they use for time reversing is not even consistent. I read a whole paper about it. You can go to academia.edu and look up the paper, Killing Closed Time-like Curves for Their Own Good and Ours, and read it. You'll knock yourselves out. I deal with the entire thing because I was sick and tired of people talking about closed time-like curves, because physicists don't even agree upon what happens with them anyway. So there you go.
How much power is it going to take to do this? I don't know if there's any power involved. I mean, I'm the only
Not
thing
really.
I'm grabbing. Okay, because the only thing I'm grabbing from is reading about things like what Tesla talked about when he saw past, present, and future at the same time,
Right.
using power and other things. What kind of
That was
power
a
are we dealing with?
mistake.
I know
You
it
got
was an
shocked.
accident.
You don't want to do that.
No.
So what happens is, since we're not dealing with relativity, power in and of itself is not really an issue. Okay, it used to be when we were dealing with like relativistic models. It's like, I remember a lot of time that I had a lot of fun talking about like the Fairchild Hung fan or something and cranking it up and adding all this power to it, and just the excitement of like, we used to call it engineering porn, of like, oh man, we're gonna rip a hole in space time, and that's not the solution. It creates situations where you don't have anything under control. In quantum mechanics, it's more about finessing things as opposed to like having a massive amount of power or something like that. So, there is power that needs to be used on a certain level to create certain kinds of fields or whatever, but those fields are not going to be destroying something or twisting, the fabric of space-time or something like that. That's not what's going to be going on. So it's a whole nother ball of wax.
So I think though that it's hard to, I guess, put in my mind's eye the process here of how you and maybe others are going to go back in time. I mean, we have science fiction to draw from there'll be like a flash of light, or there'll be a molecular taking apart and reconstruction, like a teleportation or whatever. What kind of process are we going to be seeing here with time travel?
We have more than one process. It's all based on the confluence between quantum mechanics, information theory, and temporal physics. And so that's why we're not dealing with closed sunlight curves. We're not going to really be opening up any wormholes. We're trying to get away from that whole model. Although we have the possibility of opening up a wormhole, but then it's like, how do you control where you open it up to? And it creates its own set of problems. But that is something we can look at, but it's not going to be anything like you've seen in science fiction for the most part, because they don't know what they're doing. I mean, they're basing their work on incomplete models and that they don't even understand. I would like to know why, because I can imagine. I want to know why in the TV show Timeless, they had that, the time machine, and it had these things spinning around it on, these bands that would rotate around, and all of a sudden, they'd be gone. Mm-hmm. And I just want to know what they were thinking to put that there, because that required a certain amount of knowledge of, advanced theoretical physics to imagine why that would be there. But then it didn't follow through in the rest of the storyline with that same kind of smarts, you know what I mean? And so, when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's cool. Because you've got these the bands would create these fields, okay? They're rotating in different directions. And then the whole thing, they're opening up like a hole in space-time. And that kind of makes sense. I can see that, but then they don't follow through with other stuff. So I would just like to talk to whoever it was that came up with that idea. But
action, you look at action and reaction. I mean, cause and effect. I mean, once time travel is achieved, what would be the side effects? What would be the effects afterwards?
Side effects, because there's no causal link between what we do with that.
So you became acausal, just all of a sudden it becomes an acausal event, or what goes on with that?
What happens is, if we do something that results in time travel, it will not affect anything else that happens in the world or the time that we leave behind. There isn't. That's what we mean by there's no causal connection there. So you can't, because of what we do there, we can't count on that changing anything else that happens for anybody that we leave behind. It's not going to change the future. It will change the future for where we go to, but it's not going to change the future here. In other words, everything that everyone who's ever read, for the most part, in science fiction about time travel is wrong. Like 95% of it, at least, is wrong. It's like dead wrong. You might as well talk about, like I said, having beach ball parties on Mars and you're wearing your bikinis and stuff. I mean, it's just as accurate as that would be. I mean, it really is. And I've gotten into it with Hollywood science fiction writers before, and it scared the hell out of them. And like, for example, I went to debate the writers from and producers for Timeless, and they chickened out because they knew I knew my stuff.
Right.
So it's like, that's the thing. You just cannot rely on science fiction for any useful information at all. It's not like science fiction predicting what's going to happen with AI or anything else like that. They're completely off when I talk about time travel. So what we want to do is be able to go back in time, start a business operation, mine things there,
Right.
send the resources back here and sell it.
Let's talk about how you're going to be recruiting people for this and other things, because we're going to wrap things up after the next break. So Marshall Barnes with us today on Channel Weird, and we'll be back with more. Don't go away.
It's all over the news. Food shortages and scarcity in the supply chain. And the reality is nobody truly knows what might happen in the near future. Hi, I'm Clyde Lewis, and I want to let you know that it's a good idea to plan ahead so you aren't caught off guard. Nothing's more important than having enough food to eat, and we're here to help. We highly recommend My Patriot Supply, America's leading emergency preparedness company. They provide long-term emergency food that lasts up to 25 years in storage. When grocery stores run empty or disasters strike, their foods will be there when you need them most. Act now and secure at least a 4-week emergency food kit full of tasty meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. They have dozens of emergency food storage kits to choose from, along with a variety of other survival products. If the government tells you not to go out, you can have the peace of mind that comes from being prepared. After you order from My Patriot Supply, your food will arrive discreetly at your doorstep. Prepare today, because time is short. Go to preparewithgroundzero.com. That's preparewithgroundzero.com.
AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Are you stressed? I mean, who isn't? Anxiety creeping in? No, not that. Is sleep hard to attain because your brain just won't slow down? We're living in crazy times, and the fear knob has been turned up. Okay, there's an answer. Take a big breath, exhale, and go log on to AncientLifeOil.com. CBD, broad and full spectrum, organic and non-GMO CBD for you to enjoy. Change your tune from fear to calm, from brain overload to clear thinking. 0.003 THC on full spectrum and 0% THC on broad spectrum. Competitive pricing with the best quality. Also know everything is going to get better. No worries, be happy. CBD can help calm so your nerves don't think they're a 6-string electric guitar. Enjoy life, smile, and log on to AncientLifeOil.com for great CBD. That's AncientLifeOil.com. You'll be glad you did.
On the phone with me is Ronnie from GetTheTea.com. Hey, Ronnie, it is the tea that makes you go, I know this because I use it. My favorite is pomegranate. What kind of flavors are there to choose from with this wonderful tea?
You can do pomegranate. You can do just the straight, which is real good. And also we have a mint, a peppermint. People really love that one too. And we have a couple new flavors on the way, which I will not discuss yet, but they're coming.
You know, a lot of people don't know that peppermint is a very, very good supplement to keep the stomach happy. It relaxes the intestines, and once again, it makes you feel better because it allows them to move around and get that stuff out of you, that bad stuff out of you.
Absolutely. This is a digest mover. So people have a hard time digesting stuff, or you get something stuck, or maybe you're a real heavy meat eater. The tea is wonderful. That's why it's taglined, the tea that makes you go.
If I want my life to change and get the tea, where do I go to get it?
GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com.
Fantastic.
Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero. You know, with the rise of the cancel culture and an increase in social media censorship, we need to make a big change. So we decided to create a very unique digital platform. It's called Aftermath.media. It's an exclusive online multimedia library featuring an interactive social media section with a chat room, videos, audio clips, archived Ground Zero podcasts, documents, books, and magazines. Our news aggregator provides current news relating to many of the topics we cover. We're expanding our research and study groups as well, which presently includes Tracy Twyman, William Cooper, Mae Brussel, and Jim Keith. Also, check out popular podcast Conspirafact with Wes and Bill. Updated apps will be available soon. The monthly subscription for Aftermath is only $10 a month, and if you sign up now for the yearly subscription, it's only $79. You want to hear the shows you love and support Great Talk Radio. Go to Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
Marshall Barnes with us today on Channel Weird, and he's an advanced concept R&D engineer, time traveler, and the solution to escaping COVID-19, escaping war in Ukraine is time travel, going back in time. And of course, if any man that is going to do this is going to be Marshall Barnes, because I've known him for a long time, and it's certainly a pleasure having him on. First time we've had him on Channel Weird, and it's great to hear from him and to hear of his plans. I was really, Ron had told me that you were now in the process, you are so close, or you are ready to go with this time travel project, that you're recruiting people to be a part of this. Tell me about that.
Well, what's going on is where we are is we have completed the conceptual research work to figure out how it is that we're going to try to tackle this problem. And we're now at the point where we're going to start trying to do physical experiments. Once we successfully do that, then that's it. It's time travel and it's over, So what I'm trying to do in anticipation of that is do what Mars One did. Get volunteers want to go to Mars in a one-way trip. Get volunteers that would want to go back and help to restart a 21st century civilization in the past and be somewhere. Because if you go there, no matter what happens to Earth here, it's not going to affect it. Okay, so this planet could get hit by an asteroid and get all blown up. And for those that are in the past, it has absolutely no effect to them. So we're talking about the ultimate in like prepper culture, because regardless of what happens, nothing's going to touch you if you're there. So we want to do that, but we're selling art to fund this effort, and I've created a new kind of NFT that people can buy. It will, it's very reasonably priced, and it will probably increase in value on its own. But then we're going to take that money and fund this research, and then if we're successful, each one of those is like having a percentage of the profits that will eventually be created or generated from all this mining and mineral, selling and all that kind of stuff, the commercial exploitation. And that's going to be tremendous. We're talking about, on average, 100 times your investment, in terms of the payoff, because we're going to be making so much money. I don't know if you know this or not, but right now, our planet in this time period is starting to run out of sand. And they need sand for all kinds of things, electronics, concrete, all kinds of stuff. So one of the first things we're going to do if we can go back in time is we're going to go on a beach somewhere and just start digging up sand and shipping it back and selling it. And that'd be worth like a lot of money. And so we're looking at this as a business, okay? How can we commercially exploit this operation? This isn't about, having time travel tourism or whatever. We're talking about restarting civilization and making money in the meantime while we do it. So that's what's going on. So we've got, on one hand, we have people who want to help fund it by buying art. And then we're also going to need people who may not have any money really, but they have knowledge, like they have a background in carpentry or engineering or, those kind of technical fields that would be useful in starting to construct civil, at first camps and bases and building it out till you have like cities and whatnot. We're going to need all those kind of people.
So, and I guess because I know you, I'm going to ask you. So, does this mean that your mission to meet Paul Kantner is over? You don't want to go back?
This isn't. I can have both. I can have my cake and eat it too.
I
guess. Because I don't want to. I want to just launch that part because I want to see that happen. It is the answer to how do you ensure the continuity of mankind, like from here,
I made a request. I know many people don't know this, but I made a request of Marshall that if he does meet Paul Kantner, he has to tell Grace Slick not to do the song "We Built This City on Rock and Roll," because it will be the most amazing thing in the world if I wake up one day and that song never exists.
But that's not going to happen because there's no causal connection.
Oh, okay, yeah, I forget. The grandfather paradox is BS. That song's going to be in my life forever.
Right, exactly. That's not going to go away.
Right. You can't kill Grace Slick or anybody else.
But I'll tell you, Paul would think it was funny. Paul Cantor would think it was funny because that's when he left Starship. He was not with them. Paul was not with the band when they did that song.
Well, I just think that if you're going to be rubbing, shoulders, rubbing elbows with people like Paul Kantner, you're going to bump into Grace Slick like once or twice or whatever, and you're just going to say, don't make that mistake. You're going to grow up to be an old woman with a rifle, and it's because of that song. Don't do this, please. So back to real science and the seriousness of this. So recruiting people openly. We know that a lot of what is going on here is top secret. We know the military has interest. Who are going to be the chrononauts in your work? Are they going to be, like you say, they're going to be people who are specialists in carpentry and engineering, but are we looking at military? Are we looking at just normal everyday schmoes who want to be a part of this?
I mean, there's going to be some requirements in their backgrounds for people that ultimately make the final cut. I mean, it's much like what Mars One did, except these people don't have to worry about, a one-way trip and where they're going to end up dying on some hostile foreign planet. We're talking about just being on Earth in the past, and it's Earth, and there's food there, there's all kinds of stuff, So it's the same circumstances, but I want people who are interested and want to do it. There's a lot of people want to get the hell out of here. So, that's what I'm looking for. And then on the other hand, I'm looking for people that think this is a really cool idea and want to put their money behind it on a fair exchange where, they might buy one of these NFT artwork things for $1,000. And that's like a low price, to tell you the truth. And it'll definitely gain in value. And then, but then if we actually make the time travel thing work, that thing's going to be worth a lot of money because we're going to treat it as stock almost. And it's going to get them a percentage of what they put in back, like at least 100 times over. So, we can afford to pay that out because overall, the value of what that business would be like in terms of what we plan on doing with it is going to be in the zillions of dollars. And make Facebook look silly. This is
a big decision. I mean, it's a one-way ticket to the past. It's no return. It's
but it's not the same thing as being stuck on Mars. I'm not selling it.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm not selling it it's not like the same thing of like go to Mars and die there. I mean, it's like now just stay on Earth in a different time period where there's a lot less garbage and crap going on, or probably nothing's going to end up killing you, and live like that. I mean, come on. I mean, that's a much better.
I tend to think, and this is me just going off on some crazy tangent, but I'd like to think, or I kind of think, that there's some retrocausal event that's creating all the problems we're having now. That it's affecting the past, because everything just seems too peculiar right now. The emotional investment we had in COVID, the emotional investment we have now in the Ukraine war, there's just too much emotional investment in this, and it's almost as if there's a rush to try and catch up with some retrocausal event. It's like getting sick from an egg salad sandwich you ate like 3 days ahead in time. It just seems like that's where we're at right now. And so going back in time and restarting civilization would probably be the only solution left.
Well, your premise, I have problems with your premise. I think it's somewhat exaggerated. And I think you would say
my mind a bit. I know it's kind of.
But you could say the same thing if we were at the verge of World War II breaking out. And this is like 1939. You'd probably say the same thing if we had that kind of concept.
Right. But wouldn't World War III be like a retrocausal event that would screw us up? And that's probably why you want to leave? No.
Because that means something happened in the future. But it doesn't work that way. That's my whole point. And I was able to look at the whole retrocausality thing and said, look, if you accept it as it is, that means you have time paradoxes, and time paradoxes don't make any sense. So what could actually be happening in retrocausal experiments? Then I realized there was nothing wrong with looking at it as, instead of changing the past, it's changing the present that you're in. It's creating a new version of the present that you're in that has a different past to it and a different immediate past. And there was nothing wrong with that. I ran it by a bunch of physicists. I looked at the work. It's very similar to Schrodinger's cat. I mean, and it matched up with Wiener Plug and stuff.
I call this war Schrodinger's war because sometimes we're in a war, sometimes we're not in a war. I'm out of time. I mean, we're
Okay.
just getting heated now. I mean, I guess we're a little slow in getting heated again. But in the meantime, Marshall, a pleasure having you on today.
Thank
Where
you.
can people go to find out more about recruitment and going back in time?
You can follow me on Quora.com. You can follow my work, my articles on vocal.media.
Okay.
And academia.edu, my academic papers.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for being on the program, and I'm sure we're going to find out more and talk to you more before you go back in time. Thank you,
Thanks.
Marshall. Thank you. And that's Channel Weird. We'll see you next week.